in the Shell is the live-action adaptation of the 1995 anime film Ghost in the Shell, and I just wanted to get this out of the way right now. I have not seen the anime of Ghost in the Shell. This is not going to be a biased review, and it's not going to be an angry review because they messed up the property or they did it right for me. This is just a guy who's a fan of movies who just wants a good movie out of a property he's never heard of before. Okay? Now that you know what kind of review this is, let's continue on with the plot synopsis. Basically, this movie takes place in this futuristic world where a lot of people are getting cybernetically enhanced, and then you have the character Major, who's extremely cybernetically enhanced because her body is android. Her brain is the only thing that's considered human, and they use her as this weapon in this police division force that they have going on to hunt down the villainous cyber terrorist named Kuze, and the movie unfolds from there. I won't spoil a whole lot because there actually is some mystery elements going on. So as I said before, I have not seen the 1995 anime film, so when I heard that they were actually making a Ghost in the Shell movie based off this anime, and after I saw the trailers, I was pretty curious to see how it was going to turn out. All I wanted was just a good movie, especially because the director of this movie directed a movie I find kind of underrated, and that's Snow White and the Huntsman. And very similar to Ghost in the Shell and Snow White and the Huntsman, this movie is gorgeous to watch. I kind of find it funny how people are just saying this movie's straight up awful, but there's some actual good filmmaking going on. Rupert Sanders, I think, did a very good job visually with this film. The visual effects are honestly outstanding to watch. And I mentioned this with Kong Skull Island, that though that movie's going to be up for some of the best visual effects of the year, I think Ghost in the Shell is going to be up for some of that too. It honestly is really incredible seeing how this world looks and how it works. Especially seeing how they integrate some CGI with the actual set design that already looks really good, and also the costume design, like the Major herself when they take off a part of her face at one point. Visually, this movie is so entertaining. It is honestly so beautiful to watch, and I really like, I know this is kind of random to bring up, but as far as costumes and junk, the Geisha robot, I think that's what they call that, that was honestly really cool to me. That was the most interesting, robot in the whole movie, because, it just, the face and the colors, and it just opened up. I was like, wow, that was really cool. So this movie really does grab your attention because of the look itself. It is beautiful to watch. And a lot of that does have to do with Rupert Sanders, because if you remember in Snow White and the Huntsman, that movie was, in my opinion, visually amazing. And the same thing really applies with Ghost in the Shell. You can kind of understand why they would pick him for the job. And also, the action scenes in this movie were also solidly well done by Rupert Sanders. I'm saying solid because the thing that surprised me the most was that the action scenes really aren't these huge things that just happen. They feel very minimal once compared to other blockbusters that came out, and when I watched the trailers, I thought that it was going to be this big sci-fi action movie, but it really wasn't. They did happen, but the movie's main focus was this crime drama. But the action scenes, when they did show up, and even though the majority of it is in slow-mo, it is really cool to watch. The action scenes were really well done. Even the final battle doesn't feel that big, but for the story it kind of works. It doesn't need to be this big over-the-top thing. And the cinematography perfectly kind of captures everything that happens. It doesn't feel too shaky at any point. But with this kind of action scenes that they have, the two things that they need to have are interesting characters and an interesting story to hook you on the movie. And unfortunately, the biggest detriment for me with this film is that the hour and 20 minutes leading up into the last 40 to 35 minutes is so dull to me. Sure, the world is very visually entertaining to watch, and the opening scene of the Major being created was honestly really cool, but then the remaining hour and 20 minutes when they're getting started on this crime drama story, it just really didn't grab my attention whatsoever. They kind of just drop you right in the middle of the story and expect you to just get everything that's going on, which leads me to the argument of, oh, maybe you'll get it if you watch the anime. But it's an adaptation, and an adaptation should stand on its own without knowledge of the anime. And the characters, for the longest time in this movie, aren't really that engaging. The Major, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding this character because they cast Scarlett Johansson, but she's supposed to be an Asian woman. I had no idea what Ghost in the Shell was, so when they did announce that Scarlett Johansson was playing her, I was like, okay, whatever, I still don't know what it's about. I only really got like aware of the controversy when they actually released like the first trailer. Honestly, I don't really care about the whitewashing stuff that's going on. I just want a good character in a good movie. However, I should warn you that if you are upset about the whitewashing thing, you probably shouldn't see this movie, because there's something that they do that's like you should stay away. But all I wanted out of this character was just an interesting, well-rounded character, and Scarlett Johansson was fine playing Major. She wasn't the worst thing ever, but she wasn't really good. She just did the like typical one-note thing. And a lot of people might say, well, she's an android, she has to sound one note. So you're saying that androids can't be entertaining to watch? Like the ones in the Alien movies and Prometheus? Michael Fassbender was excellent as that android. I just really didn't find that Major character that interesting, especially when you're stuck with her for a long portion of the beginning with pretty much no kind of development going on until the last 40 to 35 minutes when they reveal the villain Kuze, who is the only character that I consistently really liked in this movie, and he's not in it the whole time, which is kind of upsetting. But as soon as this character arrives for the first time with his presentation, his mannerisms, I was hooked. The actor who did him, I think, did a good job, and the kind of special effects they did for him look really creepy too. And it was as soon as Kuze arrived when I finally got somewhat invested in the story going on, and that's when the Major sort of got interesting to me. It's too bad that it took them this long in the movie to do that, though. The main character should be consistently good throughout, but she only gets good near the the third act pretty much, and that's not good if your main character only gets good in the third act. And when you're with Scarlett Johansson as the Major, there's no other character in her police division force for you to even latch onto either, because there's really no development with them. They get kinda close with the character of Bato, who has really cool eyes, but he doesn't really get fleshed out too much. I guess he's supposed to be the lighthearted aspect of the movie because he tells some jokes, but honestly, I didn't care about his character. Like, there really was nothing for me to latch onto besides he had an accident and his eyes. Like, oh dear. He had a thing for a basset hound, which was kind of random and didn't really need to be included in the movie, but I hear it's some nod to Ghost in the Shell anime, so whatever. So as far as my biggest complaint with this movie, it's the first hour and 20 minutes, because even though visually it's outstanding to watch, there really is no character to latch onto, and there's no engaging crime drama story to be hooked on. It's just the action scenes look kinda cool and the special effects are amazing. So for the longest time, I just thought, this movie's okay, and it's when the last 40 to 35 minutes kicked in where I was like, okay, this movie's not that bad. If you're a fan of Ghost in the Shell, I don't know how you're gonna think about this movie, because you have Chris Stuckman, who loved it, it's one of the best adaptations of all time. Then you have the Black Critic guy, who hated it. So just go see it and see for yourself. I can't make up your mind for you. I haven't seen the anime, so I can't say. Plus, it needs some support. Just go see it at the box office, because it's flopping. You might as well just go see it anyways. As for me, someone who's not a fan of the anime, just wanted a good movie, it's fine. It's a decent movie. I think Rupert Sanders' visual direction is the best part. The cinematography is really good to look at, and even the musical score isn't that bad. I just wish that the first two acts of the movie were more engaging than what they were. That being said, I'm gonna give Ghost in the Shell a B. If you just want this kind of disposable sci-fi movie with an interesting world, then I think you can enjoy Ghost in the Shell if you haven't heard of the anime before. However, if you want a kind of engaging crime drama, you're gonna be really bored for a long time with this film. But if you've seen Ghost in the Shell already, leave in the comments below of what you thought of it, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.